This is Daf Yomi Yerushalmi Terumos. In the article Oz Part edition, we are on the second line of Tes Amud Aleph, Mao Shiavi Chagiga, and that is in the Vilna on Daf Daled Amud Beis. In the wide lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines down. Mao Shiavi Chagiga. It's in the middle of the line, more or less. And so that we are still at war, of course. So learning Yerushalmi should be a source for Yosh for Eretz Yisrael, and all Paisov needs a Yeshua from our enemies. Yimach Shema Bezichram. So again, Ma'osh Yovi Chagiga. So let me find a place in the Kavanaka here. So a cotton who got to own Asidorim, 11 for a girl, 12 for a boy. Can he bring a carbon chagiga? Me'achashu chova, since it's obligatory, it's a mitzvah in chagiga, maybe because not chayv mitzvahs. Me'achashu l'shem shlamim, or perhaps because since it ultimately chagiga is a shlamim, and since it's a shlamim, and he can be no karbonos, including shlamim, perhaps he should be chayv in chagiga. Well, Levi Pesach. What do you say about Pesach? Me'achashu chayva, because it's mandatory. Because now you're chayv mitzvahs. Ma'achadamer Shimon Lakish, since the Shimon Lakish said b'shem Rabbi Yehuda Nesiah. What does it says Yehuda Nesiah. Okay, same Rabbi Yehuda Nesiah. Mevi Adam Pesach b'shayim Moshe Shalom Shlamim. A person can bring Pesach other time if he didn't bring a Pesach. He lost it and he sacrificed another one, and then he finds the first one and he brings it and he has it during the rest of the year. He can bring it as a shlamim. So perhaps again, since the Pesach is in essence a what's the word I'm looking for, an overlay on a shlamim. So therefore, perhaps he can bring it. Mao should be Meiser Behema. What about Meiser Behema? In other words, if he has animals, he should every 10th animal can designate as a korban. In Savar Rabbi Meir hukshu meisus lezel. So if Rabbi Meir holds that meisus are linked to each other, kishem she'enim maybe meiser dog and kach enim maybe meiser behema. Now, what does this mean? We find in the Bavli that in Rosh Hashanah Daf Ches, Rabbi Meir darshans aser ta'aser. Shnei meisus hakosim daber. The pasuk about two meisus, echad meiser behema, echad meiser dogan. The mice of animals, the mice of grain. Ma mice of dogan samach l'gmar isuro. Gmar isuro, it's isuro, just like the mice of grain, just when it's finished, is the time to meiser it, Rosh Chodesh Tishrei. Mice mema samach l'gmar isuro, that's Rosh Chodesh Elul. Now, that's specifically about the timing of the meiser behema. But what about the other aspects of Meiser Behema? Do we make a hekesh between Meiser Behema and Meiser Dagon? Because he can do Meiser Dagon, right? So if he can't do, since he, I'm sorry, he can't bring Meiser Dagon because it's like Truma. So and because it has to be given, it's like a Kenyan. So therefore, since he can't bring Meiser Dagon, perhaps you can't bring Meiser Behema, even though Meiser Behema is also a form of shlamim. Ma'alasos Tmura. Can a cotton make Tmura? To say this carbon is instead, this animal is instead of that animal. And of course, which they're both Kodesh, the animal which was originally Hekdesh, which he tried to make Ois Hekdesh, and the new animal he tried to make Hekdesh is also Hekdesh. So does that Tmura apply also to cotton? In Savar Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Meir holds actually. I'm not sure whether there's this here's also an Gemara, is this Kavanaki? No, it's also the Gemara. I'm not sure why it is. It just seems like it's just repetitive. I don't know why it doesn't take it out. So again, Mala says Tmura in Samurai Mehukshu call Meiser Zel Zek, Kashem Shein maybe Meiser Dogan, Kachan maybe Meiser Behema. Okay, that's already we had that. Okay, but the chiddush is the new part. Kashem she'enu mevi meiser behema kach enu oset tmura. So just like he can't bring meiser behema, he can make definitely meiser behema. He can't make tmura in meiser behema. Okay, fine. So what do we do with other types of tmura? Um, V'yizbar Rabbi Shimon, and if you let's say we continue the to suggest the possibility that Meir holds like Rabbi Shimon, and therefore can't make it Tamura in any korban, not just Ma'aser Beima, because Rabbi Shimon says in the Mishnah Tamura Daf Yud Gimel that the all kachim are linked to Tamura. Okay, so as he says. Yizbar Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Shimon, Ma'aser Beima limit al kol kachim l'Tamura. So therefore, Geshem she'enu maybe Meiser Dogon, so you can't bring Meiser Dogon. Kachenu maybe Meiser Behema. I see that why I didn't take out because it's repeated over and over again here. Geshem she'enu maybe Meiser Behema. Kachenu osa Tmura. By Meiser Behema. Geshem she'enu meimer bo. Kachenu meimer chol kachim. Okay, so that's the chain. That's a chain of linkages. Okay, Ma'u shehu chayovin al kotcha b'chutz. If a person shechted outside the Azara, a korban which a cotton was makdish, but when he was 11 for a girl or 12 for a boy, is that considered to be a true korban which you chayiv on shchutei chutz? Rav Kana Amar ein chayiv el kodasha b'chutz. No, it's not. It's not sufficiently hekdesh that that should be chayiv shchutei chutz. And the Rav Fulda, the Pnei Moshe explained because his hekdesh is only the Rabbanon, not the Raisa. Even though he's got the ones nedarim, it's not. It's not considered to be a full blown the Raisa korban. Only the Rabbanon. That's Rabbi Rav Kana, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Amrei. They said chayav kacha b'chutz. It's total. It's a total korban. So every chayav and shchutei chutz. Kasha Rav Kana. So we have difficulty Rav Kana. Kasha Rav Kana. Hadu Rabbi Yehuda. We have difficulty with Rav Kahana, that which Rabbi Yehuda said. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Poter Tivlo Dvar Torah. Rabbi Yehuda said that you can, Rabbi Yehuda holds it, says the Katan can, who can magil onos maisrus, can take off Truma, right? So that which he said, he can't take off, he can only take off Truma and not be Makdish. That's before he gets to Onas Sadarim. Once he gets to Onas Sadarim, he can do both, right? So how can it be if he can partner his tevel's osmi deraisa? And Rabbi Yehuda said his truma's truma and he exempts his tevel, and nobody eats this is going to chayiv on as eating tevel. So it must be that his truma's truma to Torah. So if that's the case, so his hekdesh, which is a less complicated procedure than truma, as we said before, it's more likely for Katan to be successful, since he wants to be a magil on his nedarim. So therefore, it certainly should be a valid hekdesh. So kasha avgana Torah. So how can you say that the kachim is less than the dvar Torah? Kamada Ramelen Kibbutz Maisus says no. This Rav Kana justifies his position by saying we know that Maisus Bismana is the Rabbanan, and since the Maisus is the Rabbanan, evidently Rabbi Yochanan they knew that too, but they obviously told Kol Tikkun Rabbanan came the Raisa Tikkun. But he's saying that since Shumas and Maisus is Bismana says the Rabbanan, Rabbi Hudu said that Truma is also only in Meiser in Truma Bismana, Truma Meiser Bismana, which is the Rabbanan. The Raisa, his Truma is not valid. Truma the Raisa and Meiser Raisa, his Truma Meiser would not be valid, only because it's the Rabbanan. And so too, his Hekdesh is only the Rabbanan, not the Raisa. And therefore, you're not chayev on shchutei chutz on the korban which was makdish. So according to the Reb Kana, comes out a fascinating thing that there's this kind of onas nedarim is considered to be only the rabbanon chalois, that valid neder according to Reb Kana, or only works by the rabbanans, or it's only the rabbanon. and therefore it's. But as he says, you're not going to be chaim shvutei chutz if her cotton's carbon, and also the truma is only truma in truma d'rabbanan. Okay, now we're up to halacha base. Ain't term is zaysim al shem and below navi al yain. Even though they're the same species, you can't make truma from olives, which is not nikmar malachto, and oil, which is considered to be nikmar malachto. Of course, zaysim are also nikmar malachton for as olives, but relative to olive oil, it's not nikmar malachton. Vim tarmu, if you did make truma, b'shamim trumas atzmon bahem. I skipped. Ein tarmu zaysim al shem and below navi al yain. Same idea. So vim tarmu b'shamim trumas atzmon bahem. The truma of the olives is not affected on the olive oil, but it's affected on the olives. So the olives now have are truma and chulin muravim zebazeh. So even if let's say you want to take 10 olives and make the meiser on the 100 olives worth of olive oil. Let's say it's a gallon of olive oil, whatever it is. So it didn't work on the olive oil. But so it really only works on the olives, but not all 10 can become meiser, not truma, meiser. Not all 10 can become meiser. Only one can become meiser. So now you have in these olives tevel and chulim uravim zebozeh. One which is either meiser or if it's a large amount, obviously truma, whatever the case may be, and the rest of them, so it wasn't effective on the oil, are chulin, and you don't know which is which. Beisil ain't trumas and truma. Beisil says no, the whole thing is null and void, and therefore you start from scratch. Okay, so the Gemara says Tamatina. We learned over there in the Mishnah, the end of Perek. Ain't me davashing ram lachto davashing loading ram lachto. You can't take truma of something which is complete. Its process is completed, and something where the process is not completed. V'lo mi davashing loading ram lachto davashing ram lachto, and not vice versa. V'lo mi nigma davashing al davashing loading ram lachto. And also, you can't take something which is processing is not complete and something else which is not complete. V'kata marachein, and here our Mishnah is talking about that but I'm sorry, I skipped the part. Part. V'yitam with shumas and truma, but the evidence is truma. Okay. V'kata marachein. But here they both Beisham and we still say at least partially it's not truma. So what do you mean? How do I reconcile our Mishnah that Mishnah later on? Rabbi Ila b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan said, "Mivnei gezel hashevet." It's because you're stealing from the shevet kohanim. What does that mean? Rabbi Chanani Omer mivnei hatorach, because of the effort to make wine and oil and wine. So the reason in Mishnah here that it says that it doesn't work even with the Evid, it's Chachamim punished him because he's causing a loss to the Kohen, and because the Kohen these are obviously olives for olive oil and grapes for wine, and by taking off the trumas and meisers when it is still grapes, still olives, he was going to cause Kohen a loss. So it says it's going to cause a Kohen loss. So therefore, we find him. We say the truma is not a valid truma even with the Evid. So you're not going to end up giving olives and grapes to the Kohanim. You have to give the olive oil and the wine to the Kohanim. So now Rabbi Chanin himself though asks on his understanding, Hagatzmicha, which means imagine, put yourself in this place. Shoysa ora shel eres, right? You had a kernel of rice. The rice is still in its shell, in which it comes, right? So it's the other that case of Oretz B'li Basar should also come in the category of a Mishnah, because the Kohen's going to have to remove the shells. So why did our Mishnah only mention wine and oil? So the Gemara says, "Nachas u'chodam yos kotesh kol shehu." he says uh, it's fine. A person enjoys finishing his own food. Interesting idea. But he wants to really. It's a psychological thing. People enjoy doing the last stage if it's not a great tircha. It's a great tircha like making olive oil or wine. No thanks. You do it for me. But it's a small tircha. There's a certain geschmack, right? That which you have from completing yourself, and therefore that would not be considered gezel shevet, and therefore the b'diavad truma would be truma. Ad kan makshi Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Chananya. The I skipped again. Okay, Hagat Tzemach b'shibolim. Sorry, he has Rabbi Chananya asked another question. Okay, what if it's a fine? That if it's a stalk, right? If it's kernels, but what if you have an entire stalk? So that's a very big tircha, right? You have a Shmuel actually sheaves. So then there's a lot of Torah, and should be like our Mishnah with grapes and wine and olive and oil, right? Akam Maksha Rebbeinu. This is the end of the question of Rebbeinu, and we don't answer it. It remains dangling, so to speak. So the Gemara says later on we're going to see Rabbi Yochanan says Enochanami. It is the same, okay, but not at this stage. Rabbi Mona Lo Amar Ken. Rabbi Mona does not say this. He doesn't give the same as a Gezel Shevet for our Mishnah. Elishu Mevakesh Litron Lefi Shemen. He wants to take off oil, truma from the olives according to the measure of oil. Ve'eno Terem Elfi Zaysim. And he has to make really a cheshbon. Well, actually, he has to take up truma according to the meat of oil in the olives, right? And he's told according to the olives themselves. So he makes the way that it's explained here is that he makes a cheshbon based on the size of the olives, right? Such as let's say Okam example is that there are 98 sa'ah of oil, and then you have to take off four sa'ah of olives, which produce 2 sa'ah of oil. Okay, that's truma. 1/50th. So the 4 sa'ah of olives produce 2 sa'ah of oil. You have to take off 2, but he's only taking 2 altogether. He's taking two sa'im of olives. We're supposed to take 4 sa'im of olives, right? So again, the Kaminoki says it's not Gezel Shevet, but actually it's a different form of Gezel Shevet. Right, because ultimately he's giving less truma as a result. Okay, again, Elishum Shemen, he wants to give 2 sa'ah of oil, 2 sa'ah of zaysim, even though he really should give 4 sa'ah of zaysim, and he's causing a loss Kohen. He should give according to the olives, 4 sa'ah of olives. So, okay, so I'm going to ask an obvious question. Okay, so let's say he did the right way. He gave 4 sa'ah of the olives to the Kohen. Yeah, maybe this time he did it right, but who says the other times are going to do it right? So therefore, again, same my principle as before. It's also different from Gezel Shevet. We say, you know what? Just because you did it right this time, you're not going to say you do it right another time. We fine you, and we say the whole thing is null and void, and you have to start from scratch. Even the evidence is not valid truma. Okay, it really goes on. Let's go to another line. Besides, people do see him. It's a Maris Ayin thing, and he's going to say he's going to do the same thing, right? And he's going, and even I'm sorry, he's taking off 4, so it's not the issue. His friend who sees him says, "Zemiskav the Rabos." He's living Mishra Sadin. Vani, ani, any second. I don't want to do Mishra Sadin. I'm only going to do 2 sa'ah. So even if the person himself is one person takes a 4 sa'ah and he does it according to the proper measure, the other person who sees it is going to think he's just doing lifnei mishra zadin, and he's only give 2 sa'ah. So we have to make a blanket rule that it never works in order to make sure that the Kohanim get their due and are not short shrifted. Okay, and that brings us to the middle of Yud Amud Aleph, uh, Chizkiah Amar, and we'll continue with them, Yitzhak next time.